Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're plunging right into the crushing intensity of Turkish high drama.
We are.
We're dissecting the source material you provided on the story of Arafta. I mean, this is a dive into a world where family reputation is, well, it's prized over human life.
And you have this long game strategy of vengeance that just violently collides with a desperate search for truth.
That collision is really the heart of it, isn't it?
It is. We're tracking two families. First, you have the Yıldırım clan, whose legacy is, basically built on a buried crime and political power.
Right.
And then you have the Tahir family, who are undercover as the Karahans. Their whole existence is just focused on achieving this perfect, symmetrical revenge. The stakes are total.
Our mission today, then, isn't just to summarize the plot. It's to really understand the devastating emotional and moral architecture of this whole conflict.
Yeah, we have to trace the secret, analyze why these characters do what they do.
And figure out the exact price paid when our central figure, Mercan, is forced to answer that ultimate question from the summaries. Will she choose family or the truth?
To do that, we have to start by setting the stage. Part 1, establishing the battlefield.
Absolutely. So the foundations of this conflict, they're rooted in the Yıldırım family. You've got Haydar, the patriarch. This is a man who values the family name over literally everything else.
Everything.
Then his son, Murat, who we find out is just a fundamentally unrepentant killer.
He thinks he can buy his way out of anything.
And then there's Mercan, the pawn, really, who's been forced into this marriage just to solidify a financial deal.
And the sources, they consistently describe this family as lacking honor or pride in any real moral sense.
Yeah.
Their honor is all external.
It's just about public reception.
Exactly, which makes them incredibly vulnerable to being exposed. And that exposure is precisely what Ateş Karahan, who we know is secretly Tahir, intends to deliver.
Atesh's motivation is it's so pure in its focus. The murder of his sister, İlsu, he even says it like a creed. İlsu, my dear sister, they killed her. I'm going to make each and every one of them pay.
And what's so fascinating about the initial setup is how calculated he is. He doesn't just seek revenge,
No, he marries into the family he plans to destroy.
It's the perfect instrument of psychological warfare. By marrying Mercan, he puts himself inside the gates.
Yeah.
He gets control over this crucial member of the Yıldırım family.
And he asserts that control, too. He keeps rivals like Nezir Keseroğlu away, telling him so pointedly, I won't let you have Mercan, she is my wife now.
But even that controlled environment starts to, well, it creates cracks in his own support system.
You're talking about his mother, Mercan.
Mm-hmm.
I find her impatience so critical here. She sees Mercan as a liability. She is genuinely worried that Ateş is becoming soft.
She actually fears he will forget all about why we came here, our revenge.
And that worry, it just reveals the psychological toll of this long game, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, Ateş has committed years to this meticulous plan, but his mother is afraid that the slow burn will dilute his hatred. This anxiety is a huge risk to his plan.
So it means he doesn't just have external enemies like Nezir Keseroğlu, who's trying to infiltrate and steal from him.
Right, he also has this internal volatility.
So we've got the Yıldırıms, trusting only their reputation. We have Ateş plotting his revenge while fighting his own potential softening. And Nezir, this external threat, trying to figure it all out. It's a house of cards.
Just waiting for one crucial piece of information to fall.
So what is it? What specifically makes this whole foundation crumble?
It's the physical, undeniable proof of the original sin. And that brings us to part 2, the core revelation.
The moment of detonation is surprisingly quiet, really, considering the impact. Mercan just stumbles upon some video footage.
But that footage confirms the nightmare. Her brother, Murat, years ago, didn't just cause some trouble. He murdered a young girl named Betül and covered it up as a suicide.
This is the truth that Ateş was banking on.
And Murat's response, when he's confronted, it's a masterpiece of moral evasion. He doesn't offer sincere remorse.
No, he justifies it. He claims Betül didn't get that it was over and she needed to shut up, so I punished her for it.
He denies being a murderer, but admits to the cover-up, and then claims he's felt pangs of conscience every day since.
But wait, if he feels pangs of conscience, why does he frame it as a punishment for Betül not knowing when to shut up? I mean, isn't that just a way to rationalize the crime without actually accepting he's a murderer?
Precisely. His conscience is just selfish regret that he got caught up in a cover-up, not that he extinguished a life. And that's why the sources intentionally put this cynical confession right next to Mercan's encounter with Batul's father, Mumtaz.
Oh, that encounter is just devastating. Mumtaz runs a simple sandwich shop. He has no idea who Mercan is.
None at all.
And he shares his grief. He talks about Batul being full of life, planning to study medicine, and then there's that one single most heartbreaking detail.
The bread.
She liked her sandwich bread, crispy, exactly how you like it.
That detail is a narrative anchor. It transforms Batul from, a name in a tragic story into a real loved person with these tiny, specific habits.
For Mercan, hearing that tiny detail must have collapsed the distance between her family's abstract crime and the real lasting pain they caused.
Absolutely.
So, given that Haydar's entire focus is reputation, how does the family pivot when this undeniable proof comes out?
Haydar's reaction is immediate and non-negotiable. Another cover-up. He demands silence, control, prioritizing the family name over justice, truth, anything.
Even over the tiny bit of conscience Murat claims to feel.
Right. And Murat, in this moment of bitter self-awareness, actually turns on his father. He yells, "You're the one who turned me into a monster."
So the monster blames the man who created him. But this immediate cover-up attempt, it fails spectacularly. And this is where that impatience we talked about earlier comes back into play.
Exactly. Muzian, tired of Ates's slow pace and convinced he's weakening, she acts on her own. She secretly leaks the video footage to social media.
The ultimate chaos agent.
It is. It just bypasses Haydar's ability to manipulate the courts or the media. The Yıldırıms instantly become a public disgrace.
And it makes any localized cover-up totally impossible. That one rash, emotional move ensures the fight moves from a private vendetta to a public moral reckoning.
Which shifts the entire burden onto the one person trapped in the middle, Mercan.
And that brings us right to part 3, Mercan's moral gauntlet.
The pressure is now unbearable, and Ateş, he weaponizes this pressure brilliantly.
He could have just gone to the police himself once the video was public, right? But he doesn't.
No. Instead, he places that final fatal choice squarely on Mercan's shoulders. He forces her to choose between the family she knows and the truth she now holds.
He frames it as this huge philosophical crisis. He tells her, this is your burden now, you found it, you carry it.
So is it a test of her moral character? Or is it Ateş finding this calculated way to make the enemy family destroy itself while keeping his own hands technically clean?
I think it's both. It's definitely a moral test for Mercan, but for Ateş, it's a brilliant way to have his revenge delivered by the Yıldırım's own internal machinery.
Regardless, the family immediately goes into crisis mode. They deploy every manipulative tactic they have to stop her.
And the parents are just devastatingly effective. Mercan's mother argues that classic dilemma, turning Murat in won't bring Batul back.
But it will definitely cost Mercan her brother. The argument is that justice is an empty concept, but the loss of family is real and immediate.
They prey on her fear, they tell her Murat can't survive prison, that he'd rot away, and the hypocrisy here is just staggering.
It really is.
While they are begging Mercan to protect the family, Haydar and his wife are simultaneously proving their own moral rot by partnering with their enemy, Nezir Keseroğlu.
The family betrayal is complete. They plan to fake his death and make it look like an accident and smuggle Murat out of the country with a fake passport.
Their willingness to partner with a rival like Nezir, who is just trying to undermine them, just to maintain a facade, it has to be the final straw for Mercan.
Right. They're prioritizing reputation over everything, including the family's own safety.
So Mercan's journey to her decision is really about rejecting that hypocrisy. She realizes her family is toxic. She even admits she's scared of Murat.
She says, "I'm afraid of what you're capable of."
But despite all that betrayal, she still clings to this sliver of optimism about humanity, which leads her to that profound statement, "I'd much rather pay the price of love than live without it."
That quote is so critical because the love she's talking about, it isn't love for her family. She knows they're corrupted. It's love for the idea of a just world.
A world where truth matters.
Exactly, where actions have consequences. She chooses the difficult truth because living the lie of her family's love would mean living without her own soul.
It's a painful trade-off. So she finds Murat at a house in Riva, but she doesn't call the police. She gives him one last chance.
She appeals to him directly.
Yeah, she urges him, confess to the crime. A part of me still believes in you. And this emotional appeal, it actually works. Murat agrees to turn himself in.
It seems like a difficult, but maybe, just maybe, a moral resolution is finally within reach.
But the narrative of Arafta just refuses to allow for a clean ending to vengeance.
No, it doesn't.
And that's right where the stage is set for a surrender. But what we get is an execution, which kicks off part 4, the vengeance delivered and the birth of a new enemy.
Murat arrives home for his goodbye, and he finally has this moment of genuine, non-self-serving regret. He apologizes to Haydar, saying, "Forgive me, Dad, I couldn't be the son you deserved."
And he apologizes to Mercan, admitting, "I could never be as strong as you." He recognizes her strength.
He does. But the tragedy is that this moment of remorse is immediately punished. Just as he's about to surrender, that unpredictable force of raw, unprocessed grief intervenes.
Mumtaz, Batul's father, appears.
This is such a brilliant narrative twist. Ateş had this meticulous plan for justice, but Mumtaz, he demanded vengeance.
And he gets it. He shoots Murat dead, delivering on the promise he made to his daughter. "I kept my promise, my dear girl. You can finally rest in peace."
So the organized vengeance of Tahir gets preempted by the visceral, immediate vengeance of the victim's father.
But Tahir still needs his closure. He walks up to the dying Murat and delivers his ultimate final statement.
The declaration of his true identity.
"My name is Tahir. I'm here to avenge my sister. I wanted you to die knowing this."
He achieved his goal. Murat died, knowing why. The Yıldırım house is shattered, the patriarch's reputation is ruined, the killer is dead. Vengeance for Aylul is complete.
This is the exact moment where Tahir's meticulous plan completely unravels, because Mercan is watching the whole thing.
And her sacrifice, choosing truth and justice over her family, is rendered meaningless by this final act of violence. She believes Ateş orchestrated it, or at least allowed it to happen.
She is utterly ruined, stripped of her family, her moral clarity, everything. And she turns all of that devastation onto Ateş.
Her transformation is instantaneous, and it is total. She declares eternal conflict against him.
"I am your sworn enemy. We're enemies. You should fear me from now on."
Each breath I take is an oath, and each oath is a step. In the end, you'll burn just as much as me.
The ultimate irony is that Ateş's vengeance for his sister resulted in the death of Murat, but it also immediately created a far more focused, intimate, and furious enemy right where he lives.
He destroyed the Yıldırıms, but he birthed his ultimate nemesis in Mercan. The cycle has been renewed, but it's been amplified.
How so?
Well, the original vengeance was cold and calculated. Mercan's new vengeance is born from this white-hot crucible of betrayed idealism and devastating loss.
That is the tragic, unrelenting cycle we traced. Vengeance led to a moral choice, which resulted in a murder, which then catalyzed the creation of an even fiercer enemy for Tahir.
And the devastating effectiveness of Tahir's long-game strategy in achieving his initial goal is undeniable. But the catastrophic failure was underestimating the fallout. He believed Mercan would accept manipulation if it led to the truth.
He thought he was giving her a path to righteousness.
He ended up giving her a path to hatred.
So, what does this all mean for the story's trajectory? We started with Mercan stating she would rather pay the price of love than live without it, just before she made the decision that led to her brother's death. Now that she has chosen hatred and revenge as her guiding principle, will this new path, based on fury, not love, ultimately cost her more than the truth ever did?
That's a thought for you to carry as you consider the ultimate price of vengeance.